Hey everybody. So let's talk a little bit about feedback in the context of training. Feedback is incredibly important, right? If we don't get feedback, we essentially don't know if we're getting better, we're getting worse, or we're not doing something right. We can't progress. Now, there are a few different types of feedback, right? We can get feedback from an external source, right? That, for example, can be a teacher or a training partner who's saying, hey, you're doing this is not working, try that. Or we can get feedback internally in terms of when I do it like this, it feels right or it doesn't feel right. Most of you who've trained in the martial arts before would have had the experience of nailing a technique and going, this is what it feels like to do it right. Once you can calibrate that internally, it becomes so much easier to repeatedly do that right. Now, a couple of things about feedback, the types of drills that you use, and your training outcomes, right? If you are training for anything that is combative in nature, right? Sparring, rolling, wrestling, self-defense, all that kind of stuff. We need to train with something that will give us external feedback so that we know if what we're doing is working or not, all right? So a really good example, right? I'm trying to nail my right cross, okay? Now, if I try and hit a punching bag or a focus mitt or somebody's head in a dark room where I can't see what's going on, I only really have two types of feedback. I throw the shot and it lands. I throw the shot and it doesn't land. But that doesn't give me good feedback for improvement, because if it doesn't land and I can't see what's going on, right? I don't know if I missed because I was too far away, if I was too high, if I was too low, if I was too far to the right or the left, if I was punching in the wrong direction. So that feedback is really, really important. If I can't see how I made the mistake, I can't fix it, right? So if I'm looking for anything that's combative, I need to have that immediate sensory feedback that I can, on the spot, articulate it, think about it, adjust it, apply it again, review it again, and continue that process, right? One of the reasons that we see people improving in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu so quickly, that's a really steep learning curve, right, is because you get that immediate sensory feedback pretty much for the first roll, right? Like the first time you apply a technique and you roll, you immediately get feedback in terms of what's working, how it's not working, and how to apply it, right? Let's take that to a different training method, which is a solo drill. That can be, shadow boxing or kata or something like that, where I don't get that internal feedback at all. I can practice hitting harder, right? I can practice hitting faster. I get the internal feedback of how my body moves through the movements, but combatively, it is very, very inefficient, all right? Now, if I visualize when I do those things, then yes, I can add some element of efficiency to it. I can improve my technical aspects, no doubt, but in terms of application, solo training is very inefficient, all right? So, question is, what are you training for? And how do you get the right kind of feedback for the right kind of training? If you want to improve some technique, if you want to improve, the feeling of your body in terms of moving through the motions and get repetition, solo drills are great. If you want application, you need to do live drills, whether that's pads in a live way, whether that's sparring, whether that's whatever it is for your contest, right? Really important. The other thing is also delayed feedback, right? So if I throw that cross trying to decide whether it's, it's got good power, good speed, I'm hitting the right target, all that kind of stuff, I have to be able to think about it and recognize that feedback on the spot, right? If I go next week and go, you remember that cross that you threw in that training session like last week where you missed, right? It was because it was too short. I don't know. How many punches did I throw in the last sparring session? I don't know, a few hundred, a few thousand? How long was the sparring session? How long ago was it, right? Feedback has got to be immediate for it to be relevant and for you to be able to start that cycle of reviewing what worked well, didn't work well, adjust it, apply it again, assess it again, and continue that cycle. Okay, so feedback, incredibly important. Think about how you get feedback. I gave you a couple of examples, right? And then align that with a training methodology that is aligned with your training outcomes. If you have any questions about it, come and talk to me.